I'm 27, and for years I felt trapped in a life that was slowly squeezing the air out of me. I worked long, grueling hours at a job that barely kept food on the table, and when I came home, instead of finding rest or support, my own family drained me dry like I was their personal ATM. I grew up in a modest neighborhood, the kind where the walls are thin and the neighbors know more about your life than they should. When I was 15, my mom, Teresa, left to work overseas. She was a nurse, and the chance to earn a better living in Europe was something she couldn't pass up. She promised it would only be temporary, that she'd save up, give us a better life, and come back. But as the years went by, those visits home became fewer and fewer. The money still came once in a while, but her presence slowly faded away. At first, I missed her so much it physically hurt. My chest ached every night, and I counted the days until her next call. But eventually, the silence became routine. My dad, Leonard, and my younger sister, Belle, stayed behind with me, and somehow I became the one holding everything together. After finishing high school, I didn't even consider college. We couldn't afford it, and someone had to pay the bills. So, I took the first job I could get, sealing boxes in a hot, noisy packaging factory for minimum wage. It wasn't glamorous, but it was work. Every payday, I handed almost everything I earned to my father. He said it was for rent, utilities, food, the usual list. I never questioned it. That's what a man of the house was supposed to do, right? Make sacrifices. But something about it always felt wrong. My sister Belle, who's 23 now, didn't lift a finger. She worked part-time at a clothing store, but spent every cent on herself, dinners, new dresses, nights out with friends. While I came home sweaty and exhausted, she'd stroll in glowing, carrying shopping bags and laughing about her latest party. If I asked her to help, even with something small like washing dishes, she'd roll her eyes and say, "Oh, Adrian, don't be such a drag. That's your job." And my father would just laugh, sitting on the couch with a beer in hand, telling her, "Leave her alone, she's young. Let her enjoy herself." My dad was another story entirely. Before my mom left, he'd worked as a mechanic. But once her money started coming in, he quit. He said there was no point killing himself for peanuts when Teresa could provide from abroad. Even when her money stopped coming regularly, he didn't bother finding another job. Instead, he turned into a professional freeloader and expert at wasting every dime I earned. Most nights I'd come home and find him outside, surrounded by empty beer bottles, blasting music, laughing with his buddies. I once counted 20 bottles on the ground, all paid for with my hard-earned cash. I tried talking to him about it more times than I can remember. "Dad, I can't keep covering everything. I need you to help out." But he'd just smirk and say, "Adrian, you're young and strong. I've done my share. It's my turn to enjoy life." "And your sister? She's my princess, I'm not about to make her work herself to death like you do." Then he'd laugh, like my life was some kind of joke. Each time I saw Belle prancing around in a new outfit while my father cracked open another beer, something inside me burned hotter. But I swallowed it down. Not because I wanted to, but because of one promise I made years ago. Before my mom left, she held my shoulders and said, "Adrian, take care of your father and your sister. Don't leave them alone. You're the man of the house now." And like an idiot, I took those words as gospel. Every time I felt the anger bubbling up, I'd hear her voice in my head and tell myself, "They're family. You can't abandon them." So, I stayed quiet. Life became an endless loop of work, bills, and disappointment. But things slowly started to shift. After a few years at the factory, I was promoted to shift supervisor. It wasn't a huge jump, but the raise was decent and I started learning more about how things actually worked behind the scenes. Turns out, I was good at organizing people and solving problems. My bosses noticed, and before long, I was moved into the office to manage inventory. My paycheck doubled. Over time, I kept climbing, from inventory manager to logistics coordinator, and finally, operations manager. My salary was 7 times what I'd started with. 7 times. It was more money than I'd ever dreamed of making. But I didn't tell my dad or Belle. I knew exactly what would happen if I did. They'd bleed me dry without a second thought. So I kept the same routine. Every payday, I handed my dad the same amount as before, pretending I was still earning minimum wage, and quietly stashed the rest into a private savings account. My father never suspected a thing. "Come on, Adrian, give me the house money. Don't make me wait," he'd say, same arrogant tone every time. And I'd just nod, hand him the envelope, and walk away without a word. Meanwhile, that hidden account grew, and with it, a small spark of hope. Maybe one day, I could finally leave this place. Even with my new salary, nothing at home changed. I still slept in the same cramped room with a broken fan and a squeaky bed frame. Belle still had the bigger room, complete with a new flat-screen TV that, of course, I paid for. My father still spent his nights drinking with the same men, laughing at the same jokes. "Adrian, grab me another beer from the fridge," he'd mumble without even looking up. And like a fool, I'd obey. But deep down, I knew I was only doing it because of her, my mother's voice echoing in my head, binding me like a chain. Every time I thought about leaving that house, my mother's voice came flooding back. Don't leave them alone. Those words were like a leash around my neck, keeping me tied to people who didn't care if I drowned. Somewhere deep down, I still hoped things might change, that my dad would finally stop treating me like a paycheck, or that Belle might one day realize I deserved the same respect she demanded. But that never happened. The day everything came crashing down started out just like any other. It was a Friday, payday. My check hit the account that morning, and, as usual, I printed the deposit slip for my records. Normally, I'd tuck it under the folder hidden beneath my mattress. But that day, I was too tired to care. I left it sitting right there on my desk, out in the open. When I got home later, I walked into my room and froze. Belle was standing there, holding the slip, her mouth hanging open. Her eyes were huge, not with shock, but with hunger. "This is what they pay you," she shouted, her voice shaking with outrage and greed. "Adrian, you're earning a fortune in giving us crumbs. How could you hide this from us?" I tried to stay calm, though my blood was already boiling. "Belle, that money's mine. I earned it. I pay for everything around here, and neither of you lift a finger. What more do you want from me?" She laughed. Not kindly, it was that sharp, dismissive kind of laugh that makes your skin crawl. "Yours? Don't be ridiculous. This is a family. What you earn belongs to all of us. I'm telling Dad." Then she stormed out, clutching the paper like it was evidence in a trial she knew she'd win. I knew what was coming, but I still wasn't ready for it. That night, my father called me into the dining room. He was sitting in his usual armchair, beer in hand, but there was no trace of his usual smirk. His face was red and his eyes were cold. Belle stood beside him with her arms crossed and that smug little smile plastered across her face. "What's this I hear about you making all this money and keeping it from us?" my father said, waving the slip like it was some kind of betrayal. "You think you can fool me, Adrian? We're family. Families share everything. Why would you hide something like this?" I took a deep breath and tried to explain. "Dad, that's my salary. I've been paying the bills since I was 18. Belle doesn't contribute a thing. And you spend what I give you on beer and parties. Don't you think I deserve to keep a bit of what I've earned?" He let out a laugh, but it wasn't a real laugh. It was cold, heavy, cruel. "Deserve?" he repeated, leaning forward. "Let me tell you how this works. Your sister's about to start at one of the best universities in the country. That costs money. A lot of it. And me? I have my own needs. So from now on, 80% of your paycheck goes to Belle. The other 20% goes to me. My expenses, my friends, my life. Simple." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard him. 80% to Belle, 20 to him. Nothing left for me. I just stood there, staring at him, until the rage I'd swallowed for years began to bubble up like acid. Then, to my own surprise, I started laughing. Not a light chuckle, a broken, almost manic laugh. The kind that comes when you realize you've finally reached your limit. They both stared at me like I'd lost it. "What's so funny?" my father barked. I wiped a tear from my eye and shook my head. "I'm laughing because I'm done. I'm done taking care of two parasites who call themselves my family. I'm done working myself to death while you sit on the couch drinking. I'm done being treated like garbage. You want my money? Too bad. I'm leaving and I'm taking every damn cent with me." My father's jaw dropped. His rage melted into disbelief. "You don't get to make that decision," he growled. "You have an obligation to this family. You always have and you always will." "Not anymore," I said quietly. And for the first time, I actually meant it. I walked to my room, grabbed a suitcase, and started packing. My clothes, my documents, my laptop, everything that belonged to me. My father followed, shouting that I wasn't going anywhere, that I couldn't abandon them like this. When he tried to block the door, I didn't hesitate. I shoved him out of the way and walked out without looking back. I moved into a small one-bedroom apartment, nothing fancy, but it was mine. I bought a new bed that didn't creak, a TV, even treated myself to a weekend at the beach. For the first time in my life, I could spend my money without feeling guilty. It was freedom, raw, simple, and beautiful. But freedom doesn't come without echoes. A few weeks later, around 10 at night, my phone rang. The number wasn't saved, but something told me I should answer. When I did, the voice on the other end froze my blood. It was Belle, but not the Belle I knew. There was no sass, no mockery, no smug tone. Just panic. "Adrian, please, you have to help us," she said, her voice trembling. "We're getting evicted. We don't have the money for rent. Dad and I don't know what to do." I didn't say anything at first. I just listened. Part of me wanted to hang up. Another part, the angry, wounded part, wanted to hear every word. Evicted? I finally said, my tone flat. And what does that have to do with me? I don't live there anymore. You two figure it out. Please, wait, she cried. We have nothing left. My paycheck isn't enough, and Dad hasn't been able to work much. Please, Adrian, you're our only hope. If we don't pay this month, we'll be on the street. I laughed. A dry, humorless laugh that tasted like years of bitterness. Your paycheck isn't enough? That's funny, Belle. When you were blowing it all on designer clothes and club memberships, rent wasn't a problem, was it? And now you suddenly remember I exist? Now I'm your savior? Please, Adrian, she whispered, her voice cracking. I know I wasn't the best sister, but we need you. We're family. You can't just leave us like this. Before I could answer, I heard another voice in the background, deep, commanding, and instantly familiar. My father had taken the phone. Adrian, he said, his tone sharp and full of authority, listen to me carefully. But this time, my father's voice wasn't all rage, there was something new in it. Desperation. Do you think you can just wash your hands of us and leave us on the street? He barked. You're selfish. We gave you a roof, food, a family, and now that you're making a fortune, you turn your back on us? That's not what a man does. I felt anger swell in my chest, but there was also a strange calm behind it. For the first time, his words didn't scare me. I almost laughed. A roof, food, a family? I repeated, nearly spitting the words. Let's get something straight, Dad. For years, I paid for that roof. I paid for the food, the electricity, the water, even your damn beer. And what did I get in return? Your mockery. You sitting there telling me, you're made to enjoy life, Adrian, not work, while Belle was your little princess who never lifted a finger. And now I'm the selfish one? He tried to interrupt, his voice faltering. Don't make me say it, Adrian. You have money, a lot of money. We saw that check. You could save us. Your sister wants to go to university. She wants a future. Don't you care? I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. University? You mean the prestigious university you wanted me to pay for with 80% of my salary while the other 20 went to your drinking binges? You remember that, right? Because I do. You told me it was that simple. I paused, my tone flattening. Well, now I'm telling you. Get jobs. Pay your bills. Survive. It's that simple. Don't you dare talk to me like that, he roared. But it didn't sound the same anymore. His voice had lost its authority. He sounded cornered, small. Without us, you'd be nothing. We raised you. We gave you everything. Everything? I asked, my voice turning cold. The only thing you ever gave me was a promise that chained me to you. Mom told me not to leave you alone, and that's the only reason I stayed, through your humiliations, your laughter, your constant reminders that I was worthless. But that check you saw? That money you drooled over? That's mine. The result of my sacrifice, my sleepless nights, my overtime hours, my promotions. Not yours. Not Belle's. Mine. And I'm not giving you another cent. There was silence on the line. Then Belle came back, her voice breaking into sobs. Adrian, please. We have no one else. If we get evicted, I don't know what we'll do. Please, I'm begging you. We're your family. That word family burned in my throat. A family doesn't use you, I said quietly. A family doesn't laugh at you while draining you dry. A family doesn't make you feel worthless. You're not my family. You're parasites. And parasites eventually learn to survive on their own. You can't do this to us, she cried, but I'd already stopped listening. I hung up. And for the first time in years, I could breathe. The weight that had been sitting on my chest for more than a decade was finally gone. What I felt wasn't just anger, it was justice. Later, my mother called. Teresa. Her voice was full of disappointment, like I was the villain in some story she didn't bother to understand. Adrian, I'm so disappointed in you, she said. How could you abandon your family? Your father and sister are suffering, and you, with all that money, just left them? They couldn't pay the rent. The landlord kicked them out. This is your fault. I closed my eyes, took a breath, and explained, or at least tried to. I told her about Leonard's drinking, how he wasted my income on beer while I barely slept. I told her about Belle, how she laughed at me and blew her paychecks on parties and clothes. I told her about the years of humiliation, the mockery, the exhaustion. But she didn't want to hear it. They're your family, she said softly, in that same tone she'd always used to make me feel guilty. You should be there for them, no matter what they've done. Not anymore, Mom, I murmured. My voice was steady, even though my heart felt heavy. I'm done carrying them. If you want to help, that's on you. But I'm finished. Then I hung up. That was the last time we spoke. I don't know if she'll ever understand my side, but I stopped needing her to. That day, I cut the final thread tying me to that toxic family. And for the first time in my adult life, I was free, truly free. Months passed, and through the grapevine I heard what became of them. My father, Leonard, now drives a cab long hours under the sun, barely scraping enough to get by. Belle had to give up most of her paycheck just to keep a smaller roof over their heads. No more clubs. No designer clothes. No laughter at my expense. Just reality, the same reality I carried alone for years. As for me, life looks different now. I'm a regional manager at the company, earning more than I ever dreamed of. My apartment is filled with things that actually feel like me: books stacked on shelves, a bike by the window, framed photos from places I've traveled. Freedom, to me, tastes like coffee on my balcony in the morning. It sounds like quiet, no yelling, no guilt, no one calling my name just to take something from me. Sometimes I look out at the city below and think about everything that's happened. I don't feel bitterness anymore. Just peace. Because justice, when it finally arrives, doesn't come with revenge, it comes with freedom. And I've never felt more free in my life.